Alright, welcome back. This is part 2 of our camping stove series. In this part we're going to be covering canister stoves. Now a canister stove is any stove that you can fit in a backpack that you would normally take backpacking that's going to need one of these canister type fuel containers. Now they make these canister stoves and they'll run off just about any compressed fuel as long as you have an adapter and it's capable of burning said fuel. Okay, so these are just some of the stoves I've got. I actually got more. Me and Ernie from the Paleo Hiker MD channel, we both have that stove disease. We keep buying stoves. Oh Lord. Anyway, there's basically, when it comes to these canister stoves, there's two basic types. There is remote ones like this Luxada. It's got its own legs and everything. It's got a little windscreen here, and here is where it hooks to the canister, and it has a valve. Okay, and it's called remote because the canister does not touch the main stove at all. The canister can be way over here. Stove is over here. Okay, so there's the remote kind. Then there's like these little pocket ones that use the fuel can itself as its base when it's screwed in there. Okay, so without a fuel can to act as a base, this one's pretty hard to use, but it's not impossible. I have this little kit here that will turn a stove like this, screw it on there, and it will make this stove a remote stove, which is kind of cool. So if you have one of these stove types and you wanted it to be a remote, there we go. Let me open that back up, and here's where it would attach. It'd screw right on there, and now this is low to the ground. This pocket type stove is turned into a remote. This is another pocket type stove. It's a copy of the Optimus. From back in the day, they had the Optimus, and it had these little fold out guys, so you could put a big pan on here. It has a nice big burner on it, but it's one of these stoves that require the can or cartridge to actually be its base. And that's why I got this. I really like this kind of stove. I've used these quite a bit, and with this I can turn it into a remote and it works great. Now these three stoves right here are all rated for this kind of fuel, which is isobutane. It's the Lindell valve. It screws on. They work really great, except in really cold weather. So will it work in the snow? Kinda. Isobutane is a mixture of different gases, okay? And the way I understand it is once you burn the high notes off those gases and you're in cold weather, the canister starts to freeze and the gas flow starts to get cut off, and what was a really proud flame slowly tapers down to next to nothing. I've seen it happen myself. So generally, a good rule, use these in the spring and summer months, into the fall a little bit. When winter gets here, I switch to my alcohol stoves. That's why I have both systems. So another cool thing about these kind of stoves is if you have the right adapters, you can use other fuel types. Now these are already rated for isobutane. Well, here is a straight butane cartridge. This is the kind that goes in those stoves that come in the little case. I got a Coleman actually that uses these. And this guy locks on here and turns this into a Lindell valve. So then I can connect one of my isobutane stoves right on here. And I can burn straight butane. Besides being able to burn a different fuel, why is this useful? Well, I can buy a 4 or 5 pack of these at an Asian grocery store for a little over $5. So a little over $1 a can. At least it was the last time I bought it. With inflation and the way things are right now, it's probably more than that. Last time I bought it, you know, I'll have to do a follow-up. Next time I'm out, I'll hit the Asian grocery store and get some of those. Anyway, so you can burn the isobutane and you can burn straight butane with this adapter. But that's not all. We have another adapter here, and that will allow us to adapt and burn straight propane. Cool thing about this is just about any hardware store, campgrounds, some campgrounds will have like a little store and stuff. They always have propane at them. I've never not seen propane there. I've seen isobutane, but this costs more than the propane. Propane's a little cheaper. So with this adapter, it screws into the propane, turns it into a Lindell valve. So then you can use these stoves with propane. It's great. So, canister stoves. These are all the kind that pack down. This one actually comes apart, goes in this blue case. This stand folds up, goes in this little purple case. This guy folds down, goes in this little orange case it came with. And this Lixada right here folds down and goes in this little travel case, little hard case. I think they're great. I use these and I use my alcohol stoves. Sometimes I carry both systems with me. I kind of prefer these remote stoves over this kind, these little pocket kind. I really like this one to the size of the burner, but this one's a pretty good flamethrower too. So let me get reset up here, and I'm going to show you what the flame output on each of these looks like. We're going to hook up, we're going to burn a little isobutane or some propane or some straight butane, and we're going to see what they look like. So I will be right back in a minute. Welcome back, everybody. So I have this hooked up to some propane with the adapter, and this is the little pocket one, and my little striker here doesn't work very well. That's the downside to these electronic strikers, is when you first get them they work great, and then after a while they end up breaking. At least on me they do. So we got a little propane here. We're going to go ahead and fire this up. I got a little lighter, and we're going to do this. Okay, I got it very low lit. I'm going to turn this light off so you can see the flame, and that would be a really low simmer, and that can get pretty big. I can just crank that easy on down to next to nothing. And so you can get an idea. This little pocket one, that's on straight propane, does really well. I'm going to shut that off. And let me get set up for the next stove, and I'll bring you back. We are back, and we have the Optimus clone stove hooked up to our remote kit, and it's hooked up to our propane. So let's get started. And this one never came with its own lighter, so you really do have to use something to light it, like this or a ferro rod. And there we go, it's lit. and give you an idea of the flame. And that's really low, nice simmer. And you can go ahead and crank this bad boy up. And that is putting out a tremendous amount of heat. Like this, bring it right down to a simmer. And I love that you can get, that the base folds out and it gets so big. So you can put a frying pan on here, you can do whatever you want. And there she is off. Okay. Let me get the next stove hooked up and I will be right back. We're back. We have our remote canister stove hooked up to our propane. Excuse me. Oh, I got a frog in my throat. And this Lixada, this particular Lixada is no longer made, which is really sad. I see other brands on Amazon that look a lot like this. So if you're looking for something like this, you'll have to look on Amazon and take a chance. So we'll get this guy going. And this has no igniter with it. It's just as you see. So you got to light it yours with a lighter. Okay, got that going. And this one's a real flamethrower. Okay. So you can see what it looks like there. And you'll see that grate, even in this low, this is low. Let me crank it down a little bit more. I think that's about as low as I can get it. That grate turns just cherry red. And this is a great stove too. Got lots of room here, but it'll also hold a smaller pot. That's why I like this canister stove so much. But we can crank it up. It's really... As you can see, it becomes a meteoric flamethrower. It ain't no joke. So I'm going to shut it off. And that's going to remain hot for a while. But one of my favorite stoves. So this has been kind of your overview intro on packable canister stoves. There is always more to learn. And that's the cat at the door, if you can hear him. He wants to put his 2 cents in. I don't like him in here when I'm playing with fire. It's not a good combo. But anyway, I like these stoves. Multiple fuel choices. And this isobutane, you can get it in these big cans. This is what, 7.75 ounces. And then you got this little one here that's... boy, I'm looking. It's probably covered up by that sticker. Hate stickers. I don't know. This is really small though. Fits in the palm of my hand. And these little canisters are great because they'll usually fit in a pot or a cup. So when you pack all this stuff down with your cook kit, you know, great little stoves. So depending on where you live in the country, you might be rocking an alcohol stove part of the year, canister stove the other part of the year, or you might just stick to one. That's all up to you and your experience. I'm just sharing with you mine in Michigan. In Michigan, during these summer months, I rock one of these all the time. During the winter months, definitely my alcohol stoves. But that, as they say, is that. So I'll just go out by saying, I'll see y'all later in the woods.